So for the next few months at Moushu's Pilates, and especially for our YouTube channel, we're going to be doing a series of mat work and equipment exercises for you to watch and do, especially for pelvic floor health. And I know that this is a women's issue, or it's perceived to be, but honestly there are a lot of people, men and women, who are going through multiple conditions which are related to your pelvic floor health, the organs in your pelvic cavity, and we're trying to create this focus not from a treatment perspective, but from creating better health, better support from your pelvic floor muscles. So a little bit about the pelvic floor muscles, right? They are holding you, and they're holding the organs in the pelvic cavity almost like the base of a bowl, and they have the springiness, and this helps to kind of lift the organs up. So today we're going to do a series of exercises which can be useful for incontinence. The next one is going to be on prolapse, but it's all going to be a build up from this one. So think of this as your startup pack for pelvic floor health and toning it and thinking a little bit more about it. To know more from the theoretical perspective, please keep a track on our website at moushuspilates.com, where we are going to be uploading blogs about 2 every month. Thank you. Definitely like the channel, subscribe to it, go to our website and read all the blogs we've put up for you. So we're going to start with breathing. Remember that the diaphragm connects through the abdominal cavity, and the pelvic floor muscles connect from the pelvic cavity to the abdominal cavity. So think of this cavity, the roof being the diaphragm, your breath muscle, and the base and the floor being the pelvic floor. So to bring them in together, we're going to work on the breath. Think of the breath from the base of the lungs. And feel that expansion of your rib cage, allowing the diaphragm to contract and relax. Taking the ribs with it, and as it does that, it also creates a nice stretch and feel of expansion, not only through the muscles of the abdominal wall, but all along the fascia. The fascia then connecting to the pelvic floor is also going to allow for relaxation and release. Sometimes the pelvic floor can get tight. So then we're going to add the breath and also create a little bit of a release. So we're going to find a nice sitting space, keeping that ball just like a roller, and we're just going to roll on the ball and allow the pelvic floor space to relax on it. Breathing. And then moving to a little, maybe a slightly different spot where you can allow for you to just sit and expand, and adding the breath again. Now we're going to take this ball, and it's quite a firm ball, but you can use something more firm if you want to create a bit of release. The abdominal space can get quite tight, especially if we have a wrong breathing pattern, and seeing how it is also connected, we want to also release from the abdominal space. So we've worked on the pelvic floor release. We're going to now work on the abdominal space, working through just different spots, adding your breath. Don't forget to add your breath. So place the ball, and then we're just going to lie there, Cleopatra-ish, and breathe. And then after a few breaths, you're going to feel a nice change, and then you can either give it a little roll or just lie there and allow for the tissue to expand over the ball. Remember to work all across your abdominal space, and then you could do the same lying on different parts for your back as well. So now I'm going to place this ball under my sacrum or my tailbone, align myself, come into my good Pilates position, and then work on a bit of mobility, allowing for my spine and my pelvis to stretch out at different spots where I could have blocked it. So, keeping my fingers on top of my headlights, remember those two little bony prominences that work right here, and then creating a tilt. And I'm going to stretch through the tissue here by rolling the ball, and then stretch through the tissue here by rolling the ball. Now here you can work with a little bit of release through the buttock, the under thigh, or through the hamstrings, and then through the calf. You can even out the space by using two balls, and if you really want to work harder into the release, you can even use spiky massage balls, or you can just place it and breathe into it, and then moving your position, just allow the leg to relax and rolling on it. Add that stretch through working through a point and a flex. Taking the same thought of the pelvic mobility on a larger ball, and then working through mobilizing the tighter tissues of the lower back and the front of the abdomen or the lower abdomen by just rolling through the ball. That feels quite good. So after working a little bit on mobility, your breath, and some release of tight spots, we also want to start, and maybe simultaneously, thinking about engagement and recruitment, and then building on the strength of your pelvic floor muscles. So where are they? I can't show them to you. They're in a very private space. So what are we going to do, and how are we going to engage? We're going to think of where I'm sitting, and I have two little bones under each of my buttocks called the sit bones. I'm going to balance that weight equally between both my sit bones so that the ball isn't moving. And then I'm going to think of the space in my pelvic cavity. I'm going to think of the sit bones coming in together. In the front, I have a pubic bone, and at the back, I have a tailbone. And I'm going to think of the pubic bone and the tailbone coming in together. So I'm kind of moving in that horizontal and that vertical space, coming to the center of a cross. And then I'm going to think of lifting it up. So I'm taking the center of my cross, and I'm lifting it up to my belly button. And this is all happening inside of me. As you can notice, I'm not moving. So pelvic floor muscles do not produce movement. So all we're doing is bringing about this engagement and this lift, deep, holding it there, and then letting it relax and release. So sit bones together to the center, pubic bone to tailbone, lifting it up. Inhale and hold, exhale, and let it release. Releasing the pelvic floor is equally important. So now that you've got the engagement, you've got the breath, you've got the release. Let's put it all together and maybe try a few simple movements, keeping the pelvic floor muscles connected. So maybe you can start with just engaging the pelvic floor, hold, release, and do multiple repetitions there. Make sure that you're doing them frequently through the day. So not just a few and then forget about it. Keep thinking about it. Recruit, hold, release, multiple times in a day to build the strength and endurance in your pelvic floor. Once you have that, maybe you use a little prop like this ball or anything that you might have at home, and let's say work on the arms. So can you hold that pelvic floor connect as you move through the arms? Or can you hold that center of the cross lifted up deep inside towards the belly button as you work a little bit on the balance challenge? Can you add to that engagement by recruiting your deeper inner core abdominal muscles? Can you add a breath? Can you hold and release? So taking this to our last part of just the initial work that we're going to do with breath, pelvic floor work and release, and matching that to core activation in different positions and movements. The next set of exercises are just taking it from bridge to your single leg stretch and a build up of the Pilates mat work, maintaining the pelvic floor and the deep core muscle activation, matching it to the breath.